Yes, everybody, welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me as he always does, very own publisher Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for a Carolina football related drop, and we're going to be talking about 3 offensive breakout players that we expect to have big seasons this upcoming year. So I'll have a list of 3. You have a list of 3. There might be a little bit of overlap as well. And while you're watching this right now, take a second and see if you can think of 3, even pause it if you need to before you continue. See if you can think of 3 players that would be your offensive breakout players, and we'll dive into it right now. So AJ,
tell us
as well. Get involved. Twitter,
tell us on the
website,
Twitter
Facebook,
thread,
wherever you want.
Wherever. Just let us know who they are. And if you think we're insane because of one of ours, or you love one of ours, let us know.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys with all these drops. So definitely do that. AJ, I'll kick it to you first. Give me your 3 offensive breakout players, and then I'll give you mine afterwards.
Okay, no order. I think Kobe Paysor's going to have a big year. He had 3 opportunities to play a lot last year, and he was highly productive all 3 times, including in the bowl game. I love his moxie. You got to have moxie to be a really good wide receiver, and he's got that. He's tough. I think he's pretty solid after the catch. He's a guy that can maybe break the initial tackle. He's got explosiveness. He knows how to get open. And I think that he's one of those guys that has a chance to perform much higher than what expectations were when he came in. Like, there wasn't a ton of juice when he committed, but there's a lot of juice in his game. And I think we're going to see that this year. I like the receiving core this year. There may not be a Josh Downs in there, but that's okay, because there are going to be other guys that are really, really good and very explosive. And I like the fact that there's multiple players they have that can be really effective in different areas with different routes. And Drake's going to have 6 or 7 guys that he'll know they can get open, and they can get the ball upfield after they catch it, or they can many of them can take the tops off defenses. I think McCollum and Walker are tremendous additions, but Paysor taking that next step up and being a 12-game guy, getting 50 reps a game, I think he's going to produce big-time numbers. And the next one would be Omarion Hampton. I think Omarion learned a lot last year. He had those 200-yard games in the first 3 games. I think that was misleading because it was against FAMU and against Georgia State. And then he struggled at times, and he didn't get on the field a lot. Now, part of that were some issues with the direct, like Phil Longo wanted him to focus on certain things. Marion was doing so much based on instincts last year, and he wasn't really hitting the proper holes a lot. So then he slowed down a little bit because he's overthinking about the holes to hit. And he didn't accelerate. He didn't hit him as hard. I think he had a lower tackle breaking percentage ratio, I guess it was, a rate or whatever. However they fully gauge it. They do it something differently in the program than what PFF might do.
Yeah,
he wasn't as good at that as he got into it, because he wasn't crashing through as much. Because when you think, you're slower. So I think that's been a point of emphasis. Holding on to the football, point of emphasis. And I have a feeling that by the middle of the season, he may end up being the primary ball carrier, and he could have a very, very big year, because there is a crap load of talent there. And the other guy is a little bit of a surprise because he started last year, but I really am looking forward to seeing what kind of player Spencer Rowland is. Tackle. My understanding is that he has made tremendous progress, and there are some people in the program that believe he's an NFL player. Now, you think about a year ago, what everybody saw was a guy who started out at Harvard that had very limited off-season program for football. And then they didn't even play during the COVID year. And they played limited number of games anyway, right? So he didn't have the year-round football training and the film room stuff and the OTA type things, the player-led practices and all that full focus on football there that he's had at North Carolina. And he's now been in Chapel Hill for a year. His body's changed. He's bigger. He's stronger. The footwork is even better. The balance is better. And he is fully adapted to playing at that level, 75 snaps a game. I think there's a chance he could be really, really good. And if so, this line is going to make the progress moving forward that a lot of people have been looking for a while. So those are my three guys. There are a lot of honorable mention guys we can get into if you want, but those are the three right there. I could have picked other ones. I think that they're on offense, especially. I think there's a lot of opportunity for players to jump into this mix, but I know you'll probably have some of those names too. So what are yours?
Yeah. I will say this: Paysor and Paysor was my honorable mention. He is one that I was originally on my list, and I was like, you know what? I think I got a couple more people I'll put ahead of him. So I'll start with mine. Andre Green's my number one. Well, not number one, but he's the first guy I'll start with in no particular order. I think he's primed for a big year. I think we saw not only in high school how much of a good athlete he was, and I think people were really excited about him as highly rated as he was coming in, but we saw glimpses against Oregon in the bowl game last year of what he can do. And I think we'll continue to see that. I think the reason he just didn't get on the field a lot last year, obviously being a true freshman, a lot of guys in that room as well last year that were maybe ahead of him in the pecking order. I think he gets an opportunity like we saw in the bowl game. I think he plays a really
the lower back too. Yeah, lower back issue for a while.
Good point with the injury as well. I forgot about that. Yeah. I think he has the potential to be one of Carolina's, if not their top targets. I think there's another guy on this list who I think is their guy right now, but I think Andre Green has the potential athletically and just as a player and a wide receiver to be a big play guy for the Tar Heels. So he's on my list. He's a guy I'm expecting to have a breakout year. And I think a lot of Carolina fans wouldn't be surprised if he did as well. Because again, I think there's a lot of expectations surrounding him. Marion Hampton's on my list. I saw him at the Showtime camp on Sunday, which was Sunday, June 25th, I believe, or 24th. And he's always looked the part, AJ. Even I remember seeing him I saw him in downtown Raleigh months before he even came to Carolina. And that was the first time I'd ever seen him in person. I just saw him randomly somewhere. And I was like, there's no way that guy's a high school senior. It looks like he's been in the weight room for years in college.
I remember you told me about that.
He's even bigger now, AJ. See him in person. He looks even more of the part than he already looked coming in as a freshman. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody, probably seen other guys that I'm not thinking of, but he definitely stands out in terms of players that look the part before they even got to campus. And I think that's even more of an impressive statement when you consider he's a running back and you need to be bulky. You need to be big. You need to be a guy that looks like he's been in the weight room for a number of years. I almost just think he has that natural body type, and he's obviously spent a lot of time working on it, but he physically looks the part. And I think he has the talent to back it up as well. And I think a year under his belt, I think he'll go into the season with a little bit of a little bit less on his mind, stop overthinking things that maybe happened last year as a freshman because of different reasons. If he goes in there and plays on instinct and plays on ability, he already is physically looks the part. I think he'll be set for a massive, massive breakout year. And I think he's a guy that could really surprise some people with how good of a year he could have this year. And I expect him to have a big year for the Tar Heels. The last one on my list, AJ, another receiver. I contemplated this one a little bit because I think everybody's expecting me to say this one, so I don't know if I can consider it a breakout, but he is new to the program. He obviously had a really good year before at where he was at, but he is new to the program. He is a new face, and if he does have a big year, it's still technically considered a breakout year because it's his first year at Carolina. Yeah. Tez Walker. I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. Really, really impressive year at Kent State last year, and a guy that I love his story, AJ, a guy that started at Central, then went to Kent State, and now he's at North Carolina. Now he's got his opportunity to have a really big year and make a really big impact on a P5 program with a Heisman caliber quarterback there throwing in the ball. I think Tez Walker is Carolina's number one receiver. I think we saw glimpses of it in the spring game. And I think you could, and we've talked about this, AJ. I remember the first open practice we went to, you could watch him for 10 minutes and be like, yep, he's got something a little bit different than everybody else.
Not even 10 minutes.
Yeah. He's got
two routes.
Yeah. You can't put your finger on it quite. I still don't know really what it is, but he has it. And I expect him to be Carolina's number one receiver this year, ahead of even a guy like Andre Green, who I think could have a big year as well. I think him, Paysor, and Green, I think that trio right there, I'm not even naming other guys on the list like a J.J. Jones, who I think is still a really talented receiver, and they've got a lot of younger guys, Gavin Blackwell in that room as well. We're not even talking about tight ends. When you got Drake May throwing you the ball and you got the talent that Tez Walker has, how could you not predict him to have a really, really big year? So that's my three: Andre Green, Amarion Hampton, Tez Walker. Another honorable mention I had as well, AJ, Spencer Rowland. He's on that list as well. And a lot of that has to do with what I've heard and what we've heard internally from the program, especially from Mac praising him. So those, if you have another honorable mention, if you have one you want to throw out.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I want to comment on Walker. The reason I didn't put Walker in there is because he came in a stud. Yeah. And also, and full disclosure, once you told me it was on your list, I mean, well, okay, that's cool. We can talk about it with you. But it was 2 routes in practice. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
Now I know why Georgia couldn't stop him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and he's also, again, moxie. I love the moxie with this wide receiver unit.
A lot.
We're not doing a wide receiver pod here, but Pacer's got it just coming out of his pores. Walker's got it coming out of his pores. McCollum is a little bit more laid back, I guess, from what I could tell in my dealings with him. He's another guy. I think they might start 2 slot receivers at the same time, but they'll move Pacer outside. He got a lot of work this spring outside, so he and McCollum could play together. And then you got Walker there. There's going to be a lot of speed. But I agree with you about J.J. Jones. There too. Yeah. Andre Green, Andre, he had the back issue last year, but also Andre has consistency issues where he would look really good in a couple of drills in practice and then not look very good at all. So he still needs to get more consistent in practice to get into the rotation. But there's the belief there that he's one of those guys, and I think this is what you're banking on, which would make him the quintessential surprise player or breakout player, is that once the switch goes on, the light is flipped, then suddenly he can become awesome like almost overnight. He's got that. And I think that's what they're hoping on. And if that happens, then you win this little thing here, like with a walk-off grand slam, because his potential exceeds what his ceiling's higher than what the other guys there have. I love this wide receiver group, man. I really do.
It really is.
And I just think Pacer he's a guy you want to talk to after a game. Josh was pretty good, but Josh was a little calculating. I think Kobe's going to let it fly some after the game, which is always good for us. And you got to have those kinds of confident personalities in that room.
Agreed. I think it's a really
I look forward to all of it, but if I'm going to throw an honorable mention guy out there, I'm not going to do Walker since you mentioned him. I'm going to go somewhere else with somebody. And how about, and I'm just kind of rolling off the top of my head here, but I like Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
I think Morales is he's very productive. He scored. He's a high touchdown rate. I think Nesbitt could have a massive season. But when people talk about Carolina's tight ends, they rarely ever mention Copenhagen.
He's good.
He could block. He can catch it. He can get you the first down marker. He can get down the field some. I think that and there is some belief that he can make himself into an NFL tight end. So I think if that's going to happen, we're going to see some of that this year. Mm-hmm. And if we do, then it's just going to make them really, really good offensively, which I think they're going to be anyway. Man.
They got a lot of talent on that offensive side of the ball. And like I said,
protect Drake.
Yeah.
89 sacks allowed the last 2 seasons.
Got to be better. If you can protect Drake,
that's pathetic.
Just give him time, man. If you just give him time, he'll do stuff. Even when you haven't given him time last year that much, he still did a lot of stuff. So yeah, give Drake time and let him feed these really talented guys on the outside. And Carolina's primed for a really, really big year if they can figure out that defense out, which we'll talk about in another podcast. We'll be doing a defensive one as well, 3 breakout players on the defensive side. So make sure you stay tuned, for that daily drop as well. We'll go ahead and wrap that up. We want to hear from you guys. Again, let us know your top 3 offensive breakout players on the team. Easiest way to get involved is on our Twitter. We'll post this story or post this article on our website as well, and we'll tweet it out on our Twitter at Heel Illustrated. Just reply to the thread. Let us know what you think. 1, 2, 3. Give us your top 3 breakout players. If you want to explain why, although I know there are character limits on Twitter, feel free, but we want to hear from you guys and let us know your top 3 offensive breakout players. If you agree with us, disagree with us, that's fine. We want to hear from y'all. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Appreciate y'all watching. See y'all on the next one. Thanks.